Welcome back to Beauty Uncovered, sponsored by OLAPLEX. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about our fitness, our health, and speak to someone that is an expert that truly believes it's never too late to be healthy and fit. Guys, you know how I feel about this. Oftentimes we get into life and things happen and things slide. And you sit there and think, oh, I've got babies. I've gotten older. I don't have the same strength as I used to. This is just the way it's going to be. But guess what? With our guest, Sloane Davis, who you can find on social media as Pancakes and Push-Ups. I encourage you to go and look. We're going to talk to her about this philosophy and how you can change everything at a turn of a dime. So hi, Sloane.
Hi.
I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm excited because, in all honesty, like we had chat beforehand, how I was a personal trainer at one point. I do really love empowering other women to really go beyond what they ever thought they were capable of doing and really actualize the best version of themselves, which is why I probably am also attracted to beauty as well. But you take this to a great level when it comes to your content and to the messaging that you're putting out there. Tell me how all this started.
It all started on a personal journey for me when I was just approaching 40. And it may sound silly, but I really wanted to see my abs. And I had 2 kids already that were 8 and 10 years old. And I kept reading, you have to be lean enough to see your abs. And so I kept, I couldn't eat any less. I couldn't be any leaner, and I still didn't see my abs. So I started to read. And what I found was that even though I was taking fitness classes and working out for many years, I wasn't building any muscle, and therefore wasn't going to get that physique that I was really looking for, the toned arms, the sculpted legs, and the abs. Not that it has to be a 6-pack, but I did not like that belly pooch that, most of us have, that we're always trying to be in a better place with. So all of the information that I kept reading was leading me towards strength training and flexible dieting. Every person that I saw that I liked the look of their body, this is what they did. I then hired a coach personally to learn, and my body changed within months, from my face to my stomach to my legs to my arms. Everything started to change. And then I felt like I had a little secret that I wanted to share with everybody. And I went back to school because I wanted to be credible, because everybody was asking me what I was doing. And I was like, who am I to tell anybody? I'm just a person here. So I went back to school to be credible. And I, with a lot of hard work and a little luck, landed my first client. And then Pancakes and Push-Ups was formed. And it's now in app form with thousands of members all over the world. That's something I'm really, really proud of. And I teach progressive overload strength training and flexible dieting, which means that no foods are off limits and you do not have to sacrifice, which is the only way to live, in my opinion. Life is too short to follow a meal plan that you're not going to want to eat what someone tells you for the rest of your life. So I educate people on basically how to balance and budget for their body. And that's how—
Fascinating you say that, because one of the things that, I don't know if it's something that's just hardwired in my head, but when someone is telling me that I can't have something, I want it more than anything. Of course. And I resent them.
It's human nature.
Right. It's human nature. So when I hear about restrictive, you can't have this, you can have that, all those different things, that is so frustrating to me. So it's very exciting when I speak to someone that is not— I understand moderation. Exactly. I understand it's okay to indulge here and there.
Yes.
I think that we have a weird pendulum sometimes. It's overindulged or it's not. But when you find that balance, you can enjoy everything.
Yes, which leads me to two different things that you just made me think of. Number one is, in our generation, we were taught that all or nothing. You either have to starve yourself and do as much cardio as possible, or you can't succeed, which couldn't be farther from the truth. And number two is sustainability is the key, along with your mindset, which we can discuss in a little while. But sustainability is the key to results, because weight loss, fat loss, is not an overnight thing. It's a process. It takes time, patience, and consistency. So the easier that you can make your diet plan, the longer you're going to be able to sustain it, and then the more results you're going to yield. So we should not be in a diet forever for the rest of our lives. We should find a sustainable plan, take it off, and then you do have to work at maintenance as well, which is still all about flexible dieting, balancing and budgeting for your body and your goals. But as you said, while there are certain foods that will make you feel better and will keep you fuller longer, every food carries the same macronutrients, which is proteins, fats, and carbs, and they all carry the same amount of calories. So if you want to indulge in a yummy carb as opposed to a vegetable that is a carb, they still carry 4 calories per gram. So it's learning how to really balance and budget for your body that is a big key to success.
And of course, I want to say it goes without saying, but the truth is that I actually know people that wouldn't know this. That doesn't mean that you only have the sweet treats all day. You still need those nutrients from the good vegetables and everything like that. And also it does create balance. But it is really hard in society where we're so fast paced. There is a lot of instant foods out there. To kind of incorporate, who would have thought, incorporating wholer foods, that we have to actually cook. What would you say is a balance for that?
Well, I do think that there are a lot of healthy foods now that make it easy for you. Like you could microwave brown rice for 2 minutes and it's instant now. Whereas not that white rice, I don't want to convey that message at all, because white rice carries the same calories, in terms of weight loss as brown rice. The only difference is the fiber. If you've already hit your fiber for the day with fruits and vegetables and other whole grains, then by all means have the white rice. But you're asking me about packaging and whole foods and stuff like that. That's why I'm just mentioning the brown rice. But I just was sent a goodie box of pre-packaged brown rice, little cups that you put in the microwave for 2 minutes. And then it's very easy. Frozen vegetables are just as healthy, if not more nutrient dense than a fresh vegetable. So always have frozen vegetables on hand, and you always should have lean proteins on hand, chicken breast and, 93% lean ground beef. And certain proteins like that. And then it's just a build your plate type of mentality. So it doesn't have to be unhealthy. The trick is to keep the healthier foods on hand so that you're not lost of what to eat, for dinner or lunch every day.
Now, I don't want to get it lost also, because again, I was explaining this to my girlfriend just actually 2 days ago. She couldn't understand why she was having the sweet tooth. Right. It was coming on. And every day she was grabbing candy, grabbing sugar, grabbing ice cream, whatever it may be. And I was always kidding around. I was like, look, you can have it. But I'm like, sugar begets sugar. Your body craves it. That's really what you're throwing out there. And I think that's where having an understanding of the, the whole grains that are a little bit slower and everything, it does make a big difference in the vegetables and all that. It makes a big difference with our sugar chemistry and not having that craving.
Yes. I say plan ahead. If she wants, so what I used to do, I used to count everything just to teach myself and to teach my clients how it all works. And I'm a big proponent of tracking your calories too in the beginning, because most people really underestimate how much they eat. And the only way to know really how much you're eating is to track. So what I would do is, because I have to have dessert every single night. It's just part of who I am, no matter how full I am. And I would plug my dessert in the morning and work around it. And that's what budgeting is all about. So if I wanted a half a pint of ice cream, and again, there's different types of ice cream that you can have that are better for you, worse for you, or more caloric, I should say. But if you have room, it really doesn't matter, what type of ice cream you have. But that's all about balancing and budgeting.
Well, again, it's all about choice too, because if you want that really like rich, creamy, whatever, again, budgeting for it, knowing how much of it you can have. But if you want to take maybe a healthier version and you're okay with that, that makes complete sense.
And my advice is to try and save that sweet for the last, meal or snack of the day. And that way you don't get carried away during the day, because one treat a day is not going to make or break your progress. But like you said, sugar breeds sugar. Science has proved that there's no sugar addiction the way people think you can be addicted to sugar, but sugar is very satisfying. It tastes really, really good.
I think it's more about the pleasure stuff in our brain, for sure.
It definitely is. It definitely is. So if you save it until the end of the night, you're more likely not to eat as much, and it won't add up, over the course of a day as much. That's my best advice.
So I want to dive into a little bit about the exercise component, because again, a lot of women get to a certain age that they're like, this is what it is, right? And even after having children, like you said, it is really complicated. Your body has completely changed. And what I do enjoy about you for sure is that not only, yes, you have the expertise, you have the education, but you have the experience. A lot of times I find it's one way or another. It's like people that had life experiences, but not the education that goes along behind it. So it becomes almost anecdotal. And then you have the people that have the experience, but never struggled with anything. I think it's so much easier to take direction from someone that has similar life experiences. So when it comes to weight training, did you find it was intimidating to go after, or you were just like, I'm just going to go for it?
No, of course. Just like anybody else, I walked into the weight room with all these men. And I was like, oh my God, first I started off going after the fitness classes and just working my upper body on the machines. Then I learned, I would reach out to all these professionals, like very, very, big time professionals. And they all told me the same thing. You got to work your legs. And I was like, well, I go to fitness classes, but I didn't realize at the time, like most people don't, that me jumping around in a fitness class with 3-pound weights is not going to build muscle because there's no overload. Mm-hmm. So the first time I stepped in the gym, I remember silly things that I did and people must have been looking at me, but I referred to videos. And like I said, I hired a coach who was all done online at the time. And it was probably 15 years ago already. So I would, go to the videos on YouTube and try and see how to properly do it. There was no fitness apps at the time. And I kind of taught myself. I think everyone is a beginner. Everyone has to start off in the beginning. There's no advance. There's no, pass go without starting. So you just kind of learn and then you build confidence from there. And I do believe very, very strongly that weight training is not only physically empowering, but it's mentally empowering. Yeah. You find strength in things that you never thought you could do, whether it's lifting a particular weight or doing something that results from you. Like I just had a client that reached out and she's like, oh my God, I haven't been to Pilates since I joined your app. And my teacher couldn't believe how much stronger I was. And I said, or someone's run becomes faster from strength training, or all of a sudden you're able to do a pull-up that you never thought you could do. So strength comes in all shapes and sizes when it comes to strength training.
I even feel like it has like a mental proponent or aspect of it that even when it comes to dealing with your life and organizing to, careers, when you are consistently tackling something that is difficult, that is for you, because let's face it, women typically tend to want to do for everybody else, but this is for you and build your strength, and you are actualizing something that you never thought you can do. It changes your perspective on the rest of your life. Suddenly you have more of a powerful mindset.
Very, very empowering in a lot of different ways. And I've gone through peaks and valleys of really, pressing the weight and focusing on building. And then I had personal loss where I lost so much strength, both, mentally and physically. And now it's 2.5 years later, and I find myself, pressing that same weight again prior to my loss. And I'm like, you know what? I can do it. It might have taken me 2.5 years, but I show up, I do the best I can. If I always say, give yourself 10 minutes. If you don't want to work out, just 10 minutes. First of all, it's 10 minutes more than what you would have done if you didn't show up. And most of the time, the hardest part is just getting there. So if you give yourself a little bit of time just to get there, you're most likely to stay. And I do love weight training too, because not only does it yield much more and better results because it recomps your body, but you're not like huffing and puffing and dripping in sweat and, it's not like sucking the life out of you where, you're on a treadmill or something else. And
no, I do find there's a lot more of a mental component in it, because you have to be present. You have to be very conscious of what your body's doing in that moment. And it takes effort, where I don't know about you, but when I did cardio, I was the cardio queen, did the step classes and all that stuff. Like that became almost automatic after a while, like walking.
Yes.
After a while, you got the cue of what you had to do and you just did it.
That's the problem, though. That's where the problem lies, where people are spinning their wheels for 15 years saying, I work out every day and I watch what I eat. But if you're not progressing and you're not pushing the load, your body is never going to change, because the goal is to tear the muscle fibers so that they grow back bigger and stronger. But when we do cardio or we do the same pound weights, 2, 3, 5 pound weights for the same 10 years, you're not pushing anything. You're not changing anything. So to step out of your comfort zone a little bit. And I do find, I cater a lot to older women also. And taking out that jumping component, the knees hurt, the back hurts, the shoulder hurts.
I used to run all the time. I even have a treadmill, because there was a point where running outside was getting too much. So I got a treadmill so I can run on there. And then even after a while, that was too much. And so, I walk, but I find that like with weight training, it's a different beast. And I do want to dive into a little bit about the benefits of a woman's body, particularly at our age. I'm 50. I think women that are in their late 30s all the way to 80 there is so much it helps with, because I don't know about you, but a lot of stuff starts to go south.
Yes. Gravity is not our friend.
Yeah. And fat does not fill it the way you want it to.
Correct.
Muscle actually is what's going to give that shape.
Yes.
And when we are losing weight and we're losing fat and not have that muscle to support it, someone was telling me about body dysmorphia. Right. And they had a hard time like really recognizing where they were at. And we were actually diving into it a little bit, just kind of a casual conversation. We were talking about the fact that she didn't incorporate any kind of weight training and she had no muscle mass. And so in many ways, she had lost weight, but in her head, she still was so fat. But I said, it's because your body is literally the same, just smaller.
Correct.
It's the same shape. So you don't feel it. And that's why you're confused. And she went, yeah, I think that's it.
Yes, you are correct. You are correct. Muscle enables us to reshape our bodies, whereas cardio just brings a smaller version of ourselves. And as we age, if we only do cardio, as you said, everything starts to sag. You're not filled out in certain ways. So you're doing yourself a disservice if you're really, and for more ways than one, which we can dive into, but strength training, obviously strengthens your bones as we age. It increases energy, which will burn more calories while you're resting. And it's not a huge amount. Some people might say that's not true. It's a very small amount, but if you do it for years and years on end, everything adds up over time. And I always say you can't get toned arms by running on a treadmill. That's one of the most popular requests that I get is, how do I get toned arms? And it's not by moving your legs. Now, I do want to preface, because we're discussing, health, weight, and all that, is that walking is the most underrated form of cardio that there is. There is no pressure on your knees. It will burn calories. It's stress-free. You're able to do it longer. You're able to stick to it. Again, talking about that sustainability. And, minute for minute, weight loss should come from food, with a very, very small amount coming from exercise because of the way science is and our bodies are developed. And you should be able to exercise to build, not to lose. That should be the mentality. So you want to build as much muscle as possible. And
I like that
with your food. Two different beasts. And when you combine them together, you get the perfect storm, because you're leaning out from proper nutrition and you're building muscle from your workouts and your training.
Can I
like
tell
I said
you
in the
how
beginning,
much I love that? Because, as a former trainer, we always knew 80% of it is diet, right? 80% of it is diet, and the rest of it was, the workout. And I guess in my head, I never really thought very deeply about what that really means. Yes, in order to lose the fat and also support the muscle growth, you had to eat. That was an important aspect. I never really thought as deeply about how we're building with the exercise, because even with cardio, the human body was not meant to sit behind a desk every day. It was meant to move. But I don't necessarily think we have to run away from bears as much as we think.
Cardio is good for your heart health. It's good for endurance. I'm not saying not to do it. It should be second to weight training, though. And walking will do the trick. I also want to preface that when you weight train, if you're lifting heavy enough, your heart rate is high. If you're squatting or lunging or even doing overhead presses, it raises your heart rate. It's almost, like a high intensity workout. And then that's why the rest is so important after, your sets.
I also think that is another aspect that I think is really important for us to discuss, because it is valid. I think that it's really important to talk about the fact that I understand that not everybody can hire a professional. There was a point in my life that there was no way I could hire a professional. It was very expensive for me at that time in my life. If you are able to, a professional is going to look at it holistically, because I do think we get, particularly as women, we have our problem areas that we want to fix, so it's the catalyst. Okay, my belly, my arms, whatever. And they think they could just lift weights just for that. But if you can look as much information, definitely from your content as well, because you can create imbalances. I hear people that say, oh, I really want to lift for my arms, but in the meantime, they're not taking care of their back and their chest, and they're hunched over and they're creating an imbalance. You want to balance everything so everything is,
yes,
it's important. And I think that following as much as I understand, we want you to go out there and pick up a weight, pick things up and put it down. Find out as much information about all of it.
That's exactly how I got started.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you're saying. And, I do give tons of free content on my Instagram and TikTok. I'm always posting videos. Of course, they're not, they're not comprised of the entire workouts, but then I also say I have created an app, and a lot of people say it's so inexpensive. Why don't you charge more? And I say, because I want people to get healthy. My main goal wasn't really, I think it always turns out like this, your passion. It was my passion. It wasn't my goal to really start a business per se. It just it happened naturally. But my app is less than 50 cents a day when you break it down. We spend over $2 on a cup of coffee at Starbucks. So I think when you put in the right mindset, and an app is easy to follow along. There's so many options out there. There's free workouts also, aside from Instagram, if you want to go find. But we are blessed in a way with social media in today's day and age, because you can find, mostly anything online. So you don't have to refer to pictures when we were growing up, or catalogs, or, per se, like that. So there's a lot of information out there to help a newbie, as I call them. A newbie.
I definitely think that social media, it can go either way. We can have the things that are not so great, but there's always helpers in the world.
Absolutely.
And those helpers are the ones that are really passionate about giving information to best actualize the best version of yourself, right?
Yes.
Especially when we've gone through life experiences. And I know for myself, exercise was my way of having power, sometimes in a very powerless situation. Definitely when I was younger, it was hard. And it is an incredible feeling if you're feeling lost or not even feeling great. Even if it's like your body is okay, you're not having any issues with it. Weight training, taking care of your body, doing little things that are directly for yourself is a powerful act of kindness to yourself and to the world at large.
I agree. And it's the one thing that we can control. We can control our bodies. We can't control a lot of things in the world, unfortunately. So when it comes to taking care of yourself, we are in charge, which is why I said earlier, it does start with mindset. When you have the right mindset and you're ready, and I don't mean when you're disgusted with yourself or anything like that, when you're ready to give yourself, the time that your body deserves, is when you're going to start to see results. Because as soon as you allow yourself to start the process is when the changes really start. The second you decide, it's change starts in your mind first. Your body takes precedent after that.
Every single step that we do is an act of kindness and putting out good things in the world. And even if it's just that one thing to step forward with. So if I know we were talking about, a person can start with something very simple. And yes, we want to encourage people to really get to know their body and understanding the balances, don't only focus on one thing. But if you were to encourage someone that is like, okay, I know I need to take action. I'm not sure if I'm ready to commit to a whole system, but I need to start the steps so I can get there. What would you recommend them to do?
I would recommend that you write down everything you're eating, or use an app. There's a few apps online. MyFitnessPal is one of them, where you simply log your food and what you're eating. You can scan the barcode of a package, or it's a social media app, so you have to make sure that the entries are correct. But you just type in what you're eating, and it will automatically calculate how many calories you're eating. I would start with that. I wouldn't start even lowering your calories. I would just see how much you're really eating as a base point.
That's a powerful thing, because again, it's like you said, sometimes we think I barely eat all day, but if you can calculate, I'm not even going to lie. I've got this new Nespresso. It's an issue because I'm putting milk and creamer in there on the regular. And if I was actually measuring it or counting all of it, you would see that my calories are a lot higher than I really think they are.
Right. Well, for you personally, I will tell you to buy a pre-made protein shake and replace your creamer with that. You'll be adding more protein into your diet. And very rarely will you taste the difference. It's still going to give you that creamy consistency. And there's even some shakes that are like a salted caramel.
I gotta admit, I love that. Because here's the thing. Like, I can't even make iced coffees. I can make my own frappuccinos. So, I mean, they give you a little ice dish and then you can like blend it all up and make it cold. And it's really great. It's a good cold press. Sorry, I'm getting off on my coffee tangent.
I love my Nespresso too. I hear you.
But I mean, even the thought of freezing the protein part and making up a whip, I never thought of that.
Yes. There's always little tweaks that you can make to your diet to make it. And I want to also say there's nothing wrong with your creamer if that's what you enjoy. You'll see how it adds up.
But yeah, it adds up. And really, in all honesty, like it's kind of like you said, I when you're lifting weights, having good protein is going to be valuable to you. It's what your muscles are looking for. It also helps with your DOMS. You're not going to be, DOMS are delayed onset muscle soreness. You're not going to have as many issues with that because that's a big red flag for me. I have a hard time with that because I'm not eating enough protein. So to sneak it in and still make it enjoyable.
Yes.
Oh, you just blew my mind right now.
I'm so glad I was helpful.
Thank you.
I was going to say, we were talking about something before that, but we were talking about
little steps. Yeah.
Right. So yes, I'm glad the protein coffee was
sorry, that's my scroll moment just coming right in there. Sorry.
A lot of sneaky ways to get protein in, which we can discuss another time, but a lot of good sneaky ways. And the products out there today, like we mentioned before, there are so many products out there now that, you know, you can sneak that protein. And protein really is the most important macronutrient that you want to eat. It's the most satiating. It's going to keep you the fullest, longest. It feeds your muscles. It preserves your muscle mass. And again, we want to focus on building that muscle and preserving as much muscle. When you lose scale weight, you're losing water, muscle, and fat. So if you build enough muscle, you just want it to come off a little slower for it to be mostly fat. And you don't want to lose that muscle, especially as we age. But aside from, so I would track the calories, getting back to what we were talking about, I would track the calories for a week. And I know some people really don't like this, but it's very important to weigh yourself on an empty stomach in the morning for a week and take an average weight because our bodies fluctuate every day. So you don't want to, you know, if we eat later in the evening, if we have a little bit more sodium, if we have more volume in our bellies, the scale is going to read that. It's not always really the best indicator.
And I also think hormonal shifts sometimes too. We wind up retaining more water. And I think women get so stuck on that number.
Correct.
Correct. And we're like, oh my God, I gained 5 pounds in one day. And it had nothing to do with anything other than a hormonal shift and you're retaining water.
Exactly. So it's a good starting point though, to see after tracking those 2 weeks of calories and weighing yourself and having two, weekly averages to say, do I need to lower my calories? Can I keep my calories because I've actually lost a pound a week? And then you kind of want to gauge from there. So that's my number one nutrition tip if someone's starting out. In terms of weight training, the best weight training program is the one that you're going to stick to. If that means weight training twice a week, then you want to do full body days. Even 3 days a week, you want to do full body days. If you can devote 4 or 5 days a week, then you want to split your muscles up to aim to hit them each twice a week. And I do recommend with weight training, if you're a beginner, to follow a plan. You'll go in there, you won't second guess yourself. You'll feel very confident when you finished that daily workout. You're like, damn, I did it. Like, I can do this. You're not walking out of there. You might be sore the next day because it's a new program and you're using muscles that you haven't used in a long time. But going in with a plan is extremely helpful in a lot of different ways. You don't want to just go in there and kind of, what do I do? Or how do I do this? When you have guidance, you're much more likely to follow through.
It definitely does make a difference. An expert always makes a difference. It doesn't mean that we can't learn to do for ourselves, and sometimes that's what we need to do. But um, there are definitely things that, even as a personal trainer and going to a personal trainer, I still went to one because I knew that they were going to bring a different level
Of
of
course.
what I think I can do. And
Right.
I think that's also part of it, is that we have preconceived ideas of what we're capable of doing. And our trainers sometimes can look at you and go, you can do more.
Right.
You could do more.
And by going in with a plan could mean pulling up an Instagram post of 4 different,
Yeah,
slides and following that. There's nothing it's just as good when I say a
absolutely.
plan. So it's just, having something beforehand to follow through with. And it will give you much greater satisfaction when you've completed whatever plan you go in with, because it'll motivation comes from action. It'll motivate you to do it again. You'll be happy that you did it. You'll feel great that you did it. And that should motivate you to say, I can do this, and I'm going to do it again on whatever day you choose to do it.
Well, so I am so grateful for this time with you, because I feel as though, one, I'm inspired, but two, I think there was some great valuable information in there for everybody to grow from. I want to remind everybody to go on to social, go take a look at Pancakes and Push-Ups. Sloane Davis is definitely the expert you want to follow, and we can all grow from this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.